the last topical in the names of Deputies Jenny Whitmore and John Brady to discuss the closure of an outdoor recreational business due to increasing insurance costs. Deputy Whitmore.
Thank you very much, Lascian Corla. Minister, I would like to raise the issue of spiralling insurance costs for our small businesses, particularly recreational businesses, and in particular I want to talk to you about a company in North Wicklow called Squirrel Scramble. Squirrel Scramble are a very successful business in North Wicklow. They've operated for many years and provide a really key part of actually family life in the North Wicklow area. I would imagine most children have been through their facility, and they offer a very fun and challenging outdoor experience for children, which is exactly what parents want them doing. Unfortunately, Squirrel Scramble have notified the community that they are being forced to close because of spiralling insurance costs. Their insurance costs has gone from 26,000 to 88,000. That is without there being any change in their operations, without any claims being made on their insurance. And so I think that's a real sign, Minister, that there is an absolute dysfunction in the insurance market at the moment. And these costs are crippling this company and forcing it out of business, which really isn't acceptable. It is a wider issue, of course. It's not just recreational businesses. I know charities are also facing these crippling insurance costs. And I think really something needs to be done, because these are the sorts of businesses and charities that really hold our communities together and provide huge services. My understanding, Minister, is that you have agreed to meet with this company over the next couple of weeks. And I'm just wondering, Minister, what actual tangible actions can you put in place to make sure that this company can reopen next spring? Because I know the government have put in measures and there have been changes to the insurance regime, but those changes are not actually trickling down and making an impact for businesses on the ground, and they're not impacting on the insurance premiums that they're being charged. So, thank you, Minister.
Minister, I also want to raise with you the serious issue of the escalating costs to provide insurance cover and the negative impact it's having on communities right across the state. But I'm speaking specifically here about Wicklow and the impact it's having on a small, very successful business, Squirrel Scramble, which had to take the very difficult decision to close down temporarily because of the escalating insurance costs. And this is primarily down to the greed of the insurance industry, but also a stark failure of government to get to grips with the rip-off industry. Squirrel Scramble, Minister, in 2017, their insurance costs were €3,000. Last year, 26,000. This year, they were being quoted €88,000 to provide the exact same cover. And this is a crippling and unnecessary blow to a small business, to a local community, and to the thousands of customers who avail of the excellent facilities at the Adventure Park throughout the year. And it's a devastating blow to the 20 staff that work in that facility as well, Minister. Minister, you previously stated that you promised to get additional competition into the Irish insurance market, and I think you have failed to do that. And I'd ask you to address your failure to bring in additional competition. I also want to repeat the call in relation to the reform of the insurance industry, including legislative changes to the duty of care. If customers are to continue to enjoy the services offered by adventure parks such as Squirrel Scramble, they will also have to share in the responsibility for their own safety. And the legislation as it currently stands, Minister, is simply not fit for purpose. All that is required is a straightforward amendment to the Civil Liability Act in order to allow the government to improve the legislation around waivers, so that there's a knowledge and an understanding that when you sign this, it is strong, solid, and it will stand up in court. And that's something, Minister, that you committed to actually doing in the programme for government a year and a half ago. So you might give clarity on where that is.
Corlo, and at the outset I want to acknowledge the issues raised by Deputy Whitmore and Brady here this morning regarding the difficulties being experienced by a business in the leisure and outdoor recreation sector in obtaining public liability insurance, including the specific company that has been mentioned here, by the key role in the economic perspective and serve to enrich the quality of life. And that actually was a facility that did that for the thousands of children and kids, especially, that have been through their facilities in recent years. Just in general, I want to say directly to Deputy Brady, when he spoke generally on the insurance industry, about the rip-off industry and the competition, and lack of competition in the area. I was here last night, a few hours ago, in the chamber, when your finance spokesperson came and said where you were sitting there now just last evening during question time to the Minister in relation to insurance when he was dealing with myself on the matter. And he said that he shopped around for his own personal car insurance this year and got it €300 cheaper. So your own spokesperson on finance said the value of shopping around. So I don't accept the rip-off insurance that you've said here, because it flies in the face of what your own party spokesperson in finance said was his own personal case. And seeing as you brought up that issue, I'm not letting it go, because what you said is utterly inconsistent with what your party spokesperson in finance said here last night, and that's a reflection of the increased competition that we're dealing with. However, I think both deputies will know, while I can't comment on the cases with individual companies' insurance due to many relevant factors that I'm not privy to, such as the existence of whether or not there are any open claims or material information of risk that I wouldn't be consciously aware of. I do want to also say to Deputy Whitmore, I do want to acknowledge, and I do say this genuinely, it's good that deputies, the two deputies here today, Whitmore and Brady, raised this issue, and Minister Stephen Donnelly has made direct contact with me, and I said to him yesterday I would be happy to meet with the company, and I'm happy to arrange that as soon as. I've had no direct personal contact with the company, so I'm sure that can be arranged, and who attends that meeting, I'll be guided by the people involved. If deputies want to be part of that, if they're happy to do so, I'm happy with that, but I've no problem on that issue, and I'm happy. In relation to the specifics, the answer is I can't write an insurance policy for the company directly, and I think everybody knows that, but what I will endeavour to do is talk to Insurance Ireland, and especially the Brokers Ireland, okay, because maybe some broker somewhere might have some knowledge in this area in another part of the country entirely. I'm not offering any panacea, but I will say we will put people in touch with the right people in relation to that issue. But it does bring us back to the issue that has been mentioned, the whole question of duty of care legislation, and I agree with Deputy Brady precisely on that. We do need to amend the legislation, but people do sign forms accepting responsibility and they're in at their own risk. But then when push comes to shove, the courts take a different view on it, and the insurance companies often have to make settlements, and the duty of care provision that we have don't stand up as the way Deputy would want them to do, and the way I would want it to do, and it is in our action plan for insurance to specifically deal with that issue by legislation, which we will be so doing, and we can come back with a timetable on those issues, but we'll issue regular updates in relation to the insurance issue on a quarterly basis, and we will do so again in the coming weeks. So the duty of care is a particularly big issue, and it affects lots of leisure industries around the country, where on the face of it there is high risk, but where on the face of it there should be parental supervision. People have to watch what they're doing, know it's appropriate for them, and take care. So look at the commitment I can give here is I'm offering to meet the company, if the company so wish to meet with me and whoever else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and Minister, I welcome your response, and I would be I would also welcome attending that meeting. I will be in contact with the company. I'll ask them to reach out directly to yourself to set up that meeting. I suppose in relation to the duty of care legislation, can you expedite it, because there is a real risk that companies will go under whilst these reforms are taking place, and Wicklow really prides itself as being a recreational centre for the East Coast. It's a key element of the offering that we have as a county. We can't afford these small local businesses to go under whilst the reforms are going through the bureaucratic process, and I think that's a real risk. And as we've seen, I know you have started that process, but as I said earlier, it's not trickling down to the ground to where these businesses are being affected. In relation to the comments about shopping around, there is only one insurer, is my understanding, that deal with this. So I do welcome if you would contact the brokers to see if there's any other insurance company or any other mechanism that could be available to this company.
Brady, 1 minute.
Minister, to use your own words, you said you're not offering any panacea. Indeed, Minister, you're offering no hope either. And that's what's needed here, because unfortunately it's dragging heels by this government and their predecessors, which has resulted in this crisis in which we are actually seeing on the ground. And again, Minister, you're out of touch. Brokers are trying to shop around. Indeed, the insurance provider that provided the cover last year have pulled out of the Irish market. There is no competition there. There is virtually zero companies there offering it. Brokers are trying to shop around, and that's how they came up with this quote, 88,000, Minister, which absolutely nobody can defend. So I would ask you to elaborate, Minister, because you say the Minister for Justice, who is leading on the duty of care legislation, that was a commitment and programme for government 18 months ago. And yet we're being told it's at an advanced stage, but no commitment to actually move it through. And whilst you are sitting there offering no panacea, no hope and no solution, businesses are closing right across the state, including Squirrel, Scramble, Minister. I look forward, because I want to attend that meeting with Squirrel, Scramble and yourself, Minister, and hopefully you'll have solutions at that stage.
Deputy, we are over time and we're reaching into other people's private members.
Yeah, I'll conclude as quickly as I can, and I understand the comments being made here. A couple of points I just want to elaborate on as well. I think everybody knows the insurance industry is regulated by the central bank, and everybody knows nobody in the Department of Finance should try and tell the central bank and individual companies how to run their individual policies, because the deputy across would be the first to say I was interfering in an area in which I shouldn't interfere. But that said, we want to make sure the industry works the way it should work. Secondly, in relation to the judicial guidelines that came out earlier this year, they have brought about a reduction in settlements so far. PIAB have issued a preliminary report before the summer showing a reduction in the cost of claims, and what the insurance companies want in Ireland and coming to Ireland is a bit of certainty if there is an accident how much it's going to cost. We have not had that up to now, but we have it now since April of this year, and that helps attract businesses into Ireland, maybe businesses that left because of Brexit, which was not our decision. The next thing I do have to say is, in light of that, I've also had regular meetings with the IDA in terms of getting new insurance companies to come into the Irish market. There's at least two major international companies that are now seriously looking at the Irish market now that they have a bit of certainty regarding the cost of doing business here. And finally, in relation to duty of care, it's one of the actions listed in the Action Plan for Insurance, which we published about 12 months ago. 2/3 of those commitments have already been implemented in 12 months, and I look forward to, in the immediate months ahead, bringing that matter to a particular conclusion. So we have robust legislation in that area, which will make it safer for businesses to operate in difficult situations like this, and know the certainty in relation to the cost of claim. And finally, I do have to say, I've met a number of deputies here in the House in the last couple of days saying that their own personal motor insurance bill has gone down in the last 12 months. I know some will say have different experiences, but I do want to say a lot of people are experiencing reduction in insurance claims costs.
Thank you for your cooperation. That concludes topicals, and we're moving on to item number 49.